Pause computer.
Recording in progress.
Nice.
All right.
All right.
Go bottle of water. What's up? How's it going?
How was your Thanksgiving?
It was so Thanksgiving like. I made mashed potatoes twice. I made a fucking pumpkin cheesecake. That was one of the greatest desserts I've ever made in my entire life.
I remember you being a great cook from back in the day.
Thank you. Yes, I still enjoy cooking. Cooking YouTubes is my therapy. I watch a lot of cooking YouTube, like a lot, you know.
Yeah, Maria does that too.
Oh my God. Oh my God. As I used to say, if you just watch like the Food Network or like food like YouTubes or something, the world seems like just such a great place.
Yeah, right. It's like everything is just
It just gives you hope. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
watching
yeah,
children
yeah.
playing. It's like maybe
right.
maybe there's hope in this fucking Epstein world. Maybe there's hope.
I know, right?
Like not everyone's running a trafficking mission. Some people are just trying to perfect their homemade pie crust, you know. Thank you God, you know. It's got to be a yin to the yang somewhere. Shit.
Right.
Somebody's
hope.
just like harvesting rice right now. You know what I mean? That's their whole fucking day today.
Restoring hope one pie crust at a time.
Oh yeah, I got a great have a great pie crust hack. And then for the pumpkin cheesecake, I did instead of like a graham cracker crust, I did a vanilla wafer crust, and I'm never going back. Holy crap! Oh
That
Lord,
sounds good.
baby Jesus! Oh Lord, baby Jesus!
You know, the other day was Steph's birthday, and she got a present, from her dad.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Guess what my dad got me?" And I was like, "A dildo." And and then Odin was like, "She could sure use it."
Oh my God!
Like perfect timing.
Nice. Well, yeah, that's your son. It's
That's
not.
my
That's
son.
I'm not exactly that surprised. Okay. To speak to the dolphin, you must get inside the dolphin's mind. If the dolphin says okay, then you must say okay. I think it was the pate. Oh man, Ace Ventura.
Oh,
God.
so good, so good.
And then who can forget The Mask? That actress lady in the red dress walking in. Oh God, help us all. Remember that?
You know what? I never saw that one. Was that
Oh God damn! Oh God damn! It was the woman who was really popular for a while. She was in There's Something About Mary.
Oh yeah, Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, it was like her first.
That was
It
one
was
of
like
her
her
first
first like job or something, you know. And she was just very young and very attractive.
She was gorgeous back then.
In that flippin'. And then There's Something About Mary, only increased her like real estate, because then she was like the silly, super attractive girl now. It's like, oh my God, oh Lord, baby.
Oh yeah, no, she was something else back then. So I was just listening to like an interesting interview with Professor Jiang.
Oh yeah, I love that guy.
I like him.
I've turned on a few people onto him. A few people have had like huge positive reactions.
Yeah, no, I really like the guy. Although one time he was talking about like the art of war, and he was like, "This book is very stupid." I was like, "What?"
Well, he's very sure of himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As most professors like are, that's their job, is to stand up there and be like, I know things and I'm going to write it on a board, and like, that kind of thing. That's the, it's the game. It's the act.
Totally.
Anyway, what was the video you're watching? Who cares?
It was really interesting because he was like talking about, for example, he's talking about how like America is a giant Ponzi scheme, and Like, why would anyone want to invest in it? Um, and then he was saying, he was like, I would invest in Israel. And I was like, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And he was basically saying, he was calling like the Pax Judea thing is coming. Basically, like trade through the Levant is going to be dominated by Israel, and saying that they're going to be able to like charge a fee for anyone who wants to, trade through that region, and how what an historically important region that is for trade.
Mm.
Um, and was talking about it was kind of interesting. I didn't get to finish it, but I was like, huh, and it was basically saying uh, that they're gonna try to collapse America, um, and and it's interesting because it's just like most other analysis I've heard is like talking about like how Israel's collapsing, and I guess from like a traditional economic standpoint of like the well-being of the people there, uh, certain economic growth and factors, like maybe it's in big trouble. But if you think like just a little bigger picture, like empires don't care much about the people in the empire. They just care about the role the strategic role that nations, whichever nation state you're happening to be talking about, is going to play, the role it's going to play strategically. So, and we're basically saying that, once Russia concludes its victory in Ukraine, it's going to need, its major market for it's going to be Africa, and so what they're going to Russia is going to end up wanting to just sell most of that stuff to Israel so they could sell to Africa. It's just, I don't know. It was kind of interesting. I just hadn't really heard someone kind of talking about it that way.
Well, and you're making me think too that, you know, I'm just pulling up here on the screen. I don't know if you're watching, but Jaculatits, and one of the things he's really good at is at day trading the SPY every day. And he talks about even with a crash, nothing goes down straight down. It's always a diagonal line of some type. For the big corrections or what is called crashes sometimes. So I was just kind of thinking that about, any kind of country or whatever that's might go down or crash. It's not going to go down in a straight line.
Yeah.
It's going to go diagonal. There's going to be, and then there's some fake. Sometimes there's some fake outs, like you're going down and then you totally recover and actually you're going to continue on an uptrend. So it's like. There's time. It's not like Israel, the United States is going down tomorrow, right? It's going to be a process. It's going to take time because that's how you're going to profit the most out of it anyway. Like what's happening in the stock market now, everybody, all the big guys are pulling their money out. And so then the question is, well, then what's making the fucking stock market run? Dumbasses like me, who are still investing and trying to make money off of it. You know what I mean? So it's like pull your money out, have a big correction, reinvest, rinse and repeat. And the only people that get screwed are the dumbass retail people that don't know when things are going to happen. We trade on vibes. You know what I mean? Like in the beginning, it was like, I like GameStop. Like, I'm going to buy that and hold it. It's like, that's as deep as I got. It's like, oh, these other smart people are saying do it. Okay, fine. I'll do that. At this point now, I know a little bit more and don't trade on vibes as much, or just try and copy other people who are pros at it and try not to really even think at all. So yeah, and then I was gonna say about Jiang, or we're probably butchering it. I don't fucking know. Yeah. Oh man, I almost made some mega racist jokes right there. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, well yeah, he has some other videos. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like one's like why Israel wants the United States to destroy it and stuff like that. He has some other interesting takes on the whole. Because it's like interestingly, because of the mythical point of view, the religious, spiritual point of view of a hardcore Zionist, remind me to talk about the Talmud in a second. Holy shit, fuck,
Okay.
motherfuck. Anyway, it's because of kind of like their point of view. They kind of want to get destroyed, you know, like that'd be kind of like fit the prophecy, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
and Harry Potter shall rise and defeat the who hasn't been named, you know. It's like, okay, like, so we kind of need the apocalypse. We kind of need to get destroyed.
Yeah.
We kind of need things to go down to match our confirmation, our mythological confirmation bias. Great album title. Oh my God.
Yeah,
mythological
right.
confirmation bias. A little too long, but whatever. So yeah, it's an interesting situation. And like, obviously, at least 60 years ago, at least, they sat down and came up with a plan, just like many other groups did before mega technology came out.
Did you mean 88? Did you mean 80 years ago?
I mean, I'm thinking 60s. I'm thinking 60s around JFK. I'm thinking around JFK.
Okay.
It seems like their power on a worldwide scale really was cemented at that time, because it's like, oh, kill the U.S. president, cool, you know, like, you know, it just seems like there was a well, and look, I have no clue. I'm just going off of that kind of idea in my mind. I mean, maybe it was way earlier, maybe it was 500 years earlier. I don't fucking know. Like, it just seems like at some point, some really well thought out plans, like the honeypot, you know, like, let's use the honeypot. Let's use a few things to gain information and financial control, and cool, you'll be set up. If you can kind of get those two things, you're kind of set up. Add in some information. I think getting good information is probably really important. Intelligence, stuff like that, you know. But once you've honeypotted, you know, 90% of all politicians across the entire world, things are going to go like really, probably pretty well for you. Things will probably go pretty easily. You won't have to do too much work. But yeah, I was just thinking around the 60s, just from thinking about like Jack Kruse and stuff like that, like that it seems like there were some well thought out plans that started to get put into effect around that time. And yeah, it could have started way earlier. I'm not as knowledgeable. I was just saying
80,
you know?
Because that was the end of World War II.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Maybe that was when maybe that's when the planning began, and then maybe some of the execution.
I think the planning began. I would argue like before that. I would say, you know, I mean, Lord knows when this plan really began, and whether it got co-opted eventually, or like I like to say, like Dread Pirate Roberts, you know, meaning like what Wesley becomes, the farm boy becomes the new Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yeah,
you know, like,
of course.
At what point does it just get taken over and co-opted, and then it just keeps either the name or the facade or whatever, you know, and it takes on a life of its own, and it doesn't even matter. It's not as important who the people running it are, as much as like the plan and the system and the machine becomes so large that there's no individual that can truly dominate it. They have to find a way, you know, because I think Catherine Austin Fitts would say that imagine a boat, a ship that's so big that, you know, and you're going at a certain speed. When you turn the steering wheel, it doesn't just turn right away on a dime. Like, you turn it and it takes a little while. There's like a delayed reaction, you know, it doesn't just turn like boom. It takes a little while. So things happen, and I guess ultimately whoever becomes the wisest, or the best chess players, you know, the best, and that's what it seems like who runs the show, and they've gotten their wisdom based on decades, if not centuries, of accumulated strategy, wisdom, but still things change, and the new technologies and population grows, various factors change, and then you have to change the calculus, at least in some ways. And the best people who are managing or being a captain of that ship, like there's, because you have to think about succession, and certain families want to keep it in the family, but it's probably not just one family that dominates them all. I'm open to that. I don't know. I think that's not as likely in my mind. It has to be, because if it's just one, then it just becomes, there's an incentive for the rest to just take them out.
Of course, yeah.
So there's got to be, it seems to me, things like the Federal Reserve was like, all right, guys, we got to stop fighting each other. Like John D. Rockefeller said, like, competition is a sin. And basically saying, because otherwise we'll waste all of our resources trying to kill each other and take each other out. So instead of that, why don't we work out some sort of arrangement or partnership, where you get this territory, I get that territory, but basically most of our interests are to some extent interlocked. And if someone starts becoming so foolish or so bad at it that, all right, it's time to remove that from the equation, or take them out, or demote them at the very least, because really it's like, when you take out the leader, especially if, like, say, like right now, like some new thing came out about Maduro, in Venezuela, where they're like, they want to remove him, and they're like, whoa, we might send him off to Qatar, and he'll have a life of luxury awaits him. So now it's like, because otherwise he doesn't want to get Gaddafi, where he gets raped to death. It's like he wants to, like, okay, you know what? If my life is going to be turned into hell, but I can get promised to live a life of luxury for me and my loved ones, like, maybe at some point I'll take that, as opposed to, like, if I know I'm going to get raped to death, then it's like, no, I'll take everyone down with me before I submit and surrender. So they want to offer an appealing offer, for someone to step down, and that they'll carry it through, so that in the future, when they want to make that offer to other leaders, that leader will be like, hey, you followed through, and so I can live a life of luxury, and my family can, and we'll just, I'm done with this playing the power game. Because at some point, individuals, they must get tired of the power game and want out of it, and then there's like some new succession that has to happen, and you can't fight it, and I'm just saying, there's all these factors like that come in, that over time the calculus changes, and even if there was a plan that was made a few hundred years ago, or even thousands of years ago, and passed along in mystery schools and things like that, and secret societies and religions and whatnot, and different interpretations of religions, and like, you make it so that it's coded, and that there are certain, like, ciphers that if you can, because if you don't make ciphers and code it, right, then anyone can find the plan and just take it over, so you want to, like, almost like Coca-Cola with its original recipe, it wants to keep that under lock and key as much as it can, while selling it all over the world and manufacturing it all over the world without it getting out. And or like, think about, say, what a lot of I don't know, we call them American enthusiasts who are like, China stole our technology and our know-how, and it's like, do you think that you can just go to every country, spread their legs, have your way with them, and you can prevent them all from becoming self-sufficient, or figuring out your little tricks or your little secret formula for Coca-Cola? Eventually they're going to, like, have the know-how and the technology and the power, or, like, not everyone you can do a Saudi Arabia to, where you set it up and you pay off that family. They get really wealthy, but they need you, and you protect them, and they're not going to build their own military. You're there to protect them. Like the deal is struck. Like, but China, they started like, hey, we can start just taking the shit and run. We don't need you anymore. Like, why do we need you anymore? And they're like, what do you mean? This was a deal. We shook hands on it and we signed a contract. And it's like, we don't care. You've exploited us and taken what you wanted from us. And part of the deal was that we were gonna, with a wink and a nod, we were gonna take your shit and your IT, and we were gonna run with it, and learn from it. We were gonna be different than the other vassal states you've taken advantage of and dominated, and we're not gonna just strike you like Japan did in Pearl Harbor because you forced Japan to do it. We're gonna wait patiently and just accumulate know-how and IT, and then we're going to compete, and clearly some of the powers that be, they don't want America to be too all-powerful as it's been in the past 80 years. They want a balance of power so that they can, make America a part of the bigger game once it's served its usefulness, which it clearly has in the past at least 80 years, and before that, over probably the last couple of hundred years, but that's been tricky, because how do you take the royal family of Britain, for example, and the Bank of England, and, because that's what it is. It's like this weird thing where to some extent, the oligarchs want a dictator that they can control and manipulate, so that dictator, they don't got to worry about, well, we got to manufacture consent of the millions of people of the domestic population to go along with what we want. We just have this king or this dictator who just, when we tell them what to do, they just do it, and they do it, and they're not looking to overthrow us or take us out. There's this weird balance of power.
No, it's like a North Korea thing. The population is just trying to survive. They're like, whatever. Yes. Yeah, the government's maybe lying to me, maybe not. I don't know. I ain't got time for that.
Yeah. And they know their government's lying to them, and that's what people like Chomsky would say. The difference between the Soviet Union and America: in the Soviet Union, most everybody knew that their stuff, their information, their news was propaganda, and they didn't believe it. But in America, they believe it, and that's like people like my dad, people like, a lot of people we know, like our parents, they're like, what do you mean? Like, how could they all be lying? That's a crazy conspiracy theory, and it's like, no, don't you get it? Like, of course they're lying. Like, no leaders or rulers, tell the full truth to their domestic population. They just have to maintain a certain degree of order, and lies are pretty fucking necessary to that.
Oh yeah, it's like a poker game. In so much as interestingly, I saw a video where I think he's a professional player, and he videos when he goes and plays, and he said he was like, what I decided to do is just to tell the entire truth the entire time I'm playing, and because not for every game, but he goes to this one game and he's like, here, my strategy this time, I'm going to tell everybody at the table exactly what I'm doing and thinking. And because deception is kind of baked into the game, assumed, nobody's going to know how to handle this. And he just kicks ass. He literally, he's literally like, I think I've got this. I think you've got that. I'm going to raise the pot for blah, blah, blah. And it's really actually what he's thinking and doing. But because the other people are like, oh no, is he bluffing now? Or was the last time? Right. It's like impossible. It's like, yeah, you have to assume that lies are going to be part of the strategy or part of the gameplay. And in so much as that if anybody actually starts telling the truth, no one's going to fucking believe them at all.
Yes. No, it's a brilliant strategy, actually.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was an awesome video.
Which in a way, to some extent, is mirrors a little bit of Trump's approach.
Right.
Where he's like, clearly, the guy isn't just telling the truth all the time. The guy lies plenty. But every so often, he just starts dropping these truth bombs, and saying things that, like, in an honest way that, pretty much no one else before him has ever said.
Oh, absolutely. That was part of his appeal, right? He
Yeah,
tells it like
exactly.
it is, or something like
Yeah,
that. Which
yeah,
it's more like the delivery method. It's more like
yeah, yeah,
a comedian style of delivery. It's like, oh, I like their delivery. I know the comedian isn't telling me the truth,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
like their delivery method. And then that's one of the responses, right, to a great stand-up comedian is they make a joke and we go, oh, it's so true, it's so true. That even
Right, right.
maybe what they said isn't true. Well, I
Mm-hmm,
like their delivery, but they're expressing something deeper
mm-hmm,
about reality that I can agree with. I know their story is probably made up or dramatized or something, but
mm-hmm,
they're expressing a truth about reality that is makes you go, oh, it's so true, it's so true, it's so
mm-hmm.
true. Yeah, that is how
Right.
things are. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
Because it's like he's like, yeah, it's like the swamp and everything's like corrupted and stuff, and we're like, yeah, exactly.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
we kind of then forget. Oh yeah, wait, you're a complete part of that.
Yeah,
But at least someone's saying it. At least someone's
yeah,
saying
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Even if they're a part of the team that's cheating, at least the guy on the team that's cheating is saying, "Yeah, everyone cheats all the time. Get you fucking used to it. That's the reality. It's like, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
finally someone's saying it."
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Or like saying when they were like, with Russiagate and they were like, Putin is a thug and he's a killer. McCain saying that shit. And then Trump was like, well, we're no angels either.
Right,
You
right,
know?
right.
And it's like, what do you mean? How could you even compare us to Putin? We're this virtuous angel of white light. And it's like, and all the Democrats are like, yes, that's right. We're the angels of white light. How could you compare us
Yeah.
to a thug and a dictator like
And Trump is
Putin?
like, I'm a narcissistic reality TV star. Like, I just don't give a shit about any of
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
according to my logic, this will make me more money,
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Those
Which is,
Russians are good for real estate business, right? I'm not shutting that market down just because you're pissed off at the
yeah,
Putin guy.
yeah. Which is interesting because when Professor Jiang was talking about, Russia, he was like, yeah, Russia is more than happy to work with whoever. And that's why Iran is, while they're making deals with Russia, they're like, shit, like, you're also working with Israel too. So it's just not so black and white, who's on what side. It's just like this weird game where it's, say, so like with your
No,
poker.
countries are for poor people,
Hmm,
as Karis one says. Countries are for poor people.
hmm,
Right?
yes.
That we think there's sides and we think there's a war and we da 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 da. And at some lower level there is, right? This
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
military with their drones is trying to fuck this other military with their fucking
mm-hmm.
drones. Yeah, that
Yeah,
is happening. But then
yeah,
like the generals of the generals of the generals of both of those countries are both like on some like billionaire's yacht right now
yes,
doing lines of
totally.
coke, bro.
Exactly,
So it's like
exactly.
once you go behind a few doors, it's like, oh wait, actually they're totally chill. They're making a lot of money off of the drone
Yeah,
warfare and stuff. Like they're
yes,
loving it. They're loving it.
yes, exactly, exactly. And that's why people that take the news too literally or think like, no, I wish Walter Cronkite was back. Like, don't you get it? Walter Cronkite was like that poker player, who, or like, at least it's the stylistic approach of that
Yes,
poker
right,
player,
exactly.
except it's like mostly lies. It's like you tell bits of truth that mislead people away from the greater truth, but you're telling it with a great bedside manner, in a way where they're just like, no, okay, they finally accept. Because if that poker player is brilliant, then at some point they're using this to set up eventually, so that eventually they can, on the right occasion, they can use the bluff and the lie, because they've established credibility. Like whatever, the New York Times, they're perceived by whatever, at least neoliberals as credible, and it's like they do that in that stylistic a manner and approach so that they can like help the WMD thing, manufacture consent to invade Iraq, and then you get all liberals and progressives being like, well, if the New York Times is saying it, then, maybe we got to go along with this. It's a strategy. That's all. And one that can be used to great effect. But I like that line, that KRS line, that countries are for poor people. Because that's what it is. Countries are, in a way, high-functioning concentration camps.
Yeah, divided by invisible lines. It's not even real.
Yeah.
Like it actually isn't. It's a fake invisible line. That has been redrawn and will be redrawn.
And will
over
be
time. It's
exactly.
not like it's immutable, some kind of immutable law. It has to stay this way. No, it doesn't.
Exactly. Or like Robert Anton Wilson would say that all the boundaries and borders of countries are where one group of bandits, was fighting another group of bandits, and they ran out of resources or money, and so they said, okay, this, here are the boundaries, and and then that'll change eventually. Or if like the Sykes-Picot Agreement of World War I, which is named after the British and French diplomats or political representation who they basically carved up the boundaries of the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in like 1916 or something. I think it was before the war ended. They were like, we're carving up the boundaries because the Middle East was such a big prize back then. They knew that this was not only for the Levant trade, but also for oil, and it's something that's kind of amazing that even over 100 years later, the fact that the Middle East and oil was such a big part of World War I, and keeping that unknown to most people. Like a lot of educated people, they don't understand that big of a role the Middle East and oil played, and was part of why World War I was being fought. And it's just amazing that over 100 years later, it's like you can make it so that most people don't know that still. And then you get people to have all these different biases and confirmation biases that it's going to be really hard for them to piece together the greater puzzle, because they have too many preferences and biases, and prejudices that whether liberal or conservative, prejudices, and as long as you get them stuck in that, then it's hard for them to see the other perspectives. So they only get like a piece or two of the puzzle instead of, something closer to the complete picture. And that's part of the thing with Jack Kruse is he decodes it from a certain perspective in a way like I hadn't heard anyone else quite decode it quite in that way.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And he has, with his knowledge of science and health, and understanding certain history, yeah, there's a reason that we haven't really heard his perspective before, because other people didn't really have the knowledge or the expertise to be able to understand those things.
Yes.
But because he does, he's able to point out certain things. And so, for example, he's all about light. And he's saying that light is the most important thing for a person's health. And he's all about mitochondrial health. And he was talking, and just the other day I saw Andrew Huberman had someone on who was like one of the, some foremost expert on either mitochondrial health or light. And basically was saying that indoor lighting and LED lighting is as harmful to mitochondrial health as asbestos, which is like, holy shit. You know what I'm saying? We're all sending our kids to schools that are flooding them with something that this guy is saying, which is corroborating what Jack Kruse is saying. It's just one of the first times I've heard someone else say this, and it's like, shit, this stuff is really true. And that's why for me, I like, I've been making these changes, and that's why I'm doing this from outside, is because I want to get outside as much as I can in natural light and out of unnatural light. And it's totally transformed my health. this past week or two, I've been around so many people that have been sick and have been, coughing, and they're some sort of cold or flu or whatever. And normally in the past, when I'm around people like that,
You're like, oh crap.
Oh, fuck, here it comes. And then sure enough, within a few days, I get it. And I've been around all these people and I never got sick. And I think a big part of it is that I'm making these changes so that
Well, it's got to be.
Yeah, these germs are hitting me just like they would in the past, but now my body's just fending it off and being like, I got this. We don't have to shut down. We don't have to like overreact. It's like,
yes, correct.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's the suppression of the immune system response. That's actually that's actually from the Wim Hof stuff, what they discovered by doing that super that kind of breathing, what they found, because they were wondering why he wouldn't get sick when they injected him with the
endotoxin.
And so as far as they can tell at this point, that super deep breathing releases a slow, consistent drip of adrenaline or epinephrine, which suppresses the immune response, which makes the immune system not react, because that's what the sickness is. I know you know this stuff. I'm just for people who are listening that maybe don't. That's what the sickness is the bacteria or the virus, whatever gets into us, and then our body finds it and then freaks out and then starts getting sick, creating a fever or whatever to try and battle the thing. But if you suppress the immune response, the bacteria or whatever comes in, and then we flush it out, and then it's fine. It's like we don't have a reaction to it. You know what I mean? And interestingly, there's the one of the Mighty Atom. The Mighty Atom. He was an early 20th century strongman, and he never got sick. And from his point of view, he talked about cold exposure, but his thing was mucus. That the more mucus you have, the more you can hold on to particulates and stuff that comes in, the more it will like get literally stuck in you. So he talked a lot about doing things that get rid of mucus, not that kind of thing.
Interesting.
But that's a really interesting. That his name was Joseph Greenstein, if I'm remembering correctly. And he did all sorts of crazy strongman, performances and stuff like that. But yeah, he had a huge thing about how his type of training makes it so that he just never got fucking sick.
Interesting.
And if he saw somebody who was sick in like the audience, he'd have them come up and cough in his face.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And it's interesting because I don't know if you remember, but I was usually very often congested and had a lot of phlegm and mucus. And since I've been doing this stuff, making these changes in the past year, it's like I have so much less mucus.
Yeah. Well, he was saying that was linked to inflammation.
Yeah. No, mucus is definitely inflammation. I've heard it's like it has to do with also like some sort of fungus or something like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, I don't know. But Jack Kruse has an interesting take on Wim Hof. He likes Wim Hof, but he basically says his breathing technique is bullshit. But he says he likes that the cold exposure is really good for you. And so he's like, I forgive Wim Hof for pushing this nonsense breathing technique because he brings people to the cold. So
absolutely. Well, and I completely disagree. As somebody who has tried it, I think it's absolutely amazing.
I love it too.
I'm not even saying for the immune effect. I have no clue. I don't know. Maybe not or something. But with my own experiences, it's pretty incredible. There's like a video with Magnus Mitbo, who's one of the best climbers in the world. And so he knows, like, for instance, exactly on a day-to-day basis how many weighted, 45-pound weighted pull-ups he can do, for instance, right? So there's a video where he learns the Wim Hof breathing technique, and somebody, I'm blanking a little bit. So I think somebody showed it to him, and then he made another video, or maybe in that same video, the person who showed it to him, and then they go and test it out, because what they're saying is that this will enable you to like set a new personal record, like in your weightlifting and stuff like that. To get rid of the carbon dioxide and pack it up with oxygen, you'll be able to beat your PRs. And he's like, look, I mean, I know exactly how many of these pull-ups I can do. We can test this right now. So boom, he does it. He does it with two different exercises. One was a climbing one, and one was the weighted pull-ups. And he beats his personal record by 50%.
Wow.
After doing, so he went from like 12 to like 18 after doing that technique. So there's some cool shit with
I agree.
with breathing techniques. I don't know what Kruse's issue with it is or whatever, but I have to say, from my own experience and from those other stuff, there's some cool shit there. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I do it every day. I've been doing it every day for like at least a handful of years since the beginning. Right when COVID started, that's when I started doing it. And I love it. I do it every day. Like, I'm out in the cold. This morning it was frigid, and I was out there with no shirt on, doing my breathing technique, and I was out there shirtless for like 30 minutes in the freezing cold, in the early morning, and I start with 3 rounds of the breathing,
right.
breathing.
Because it can get you warm too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that's the Tibetan Buddhism Tummo stuff is breathe super hard, tense your muscles, breathe super hard. You can get the heat going.
And I remember at the beginning of COVID, Maria was like taking a class to become like a yoga instructor. And so they had to read the Bhagavad Gita and one of the other books like that. And either the Bhagavad Gita, she would read it to me, and at one point she was talking about one of the breathing techniques, and it was very similar to the Wim Hof breathing technique. It sounded like, and it was going into how basically it was talking, and I forgot the specifics, but it was basically talking about the benefits of some of these breathing techniques scientifically, and as she read it to me, I was like, oh, that actually makes sense in terms of the Wim Hof breathing technique, why it would have these benefits. It does something to us internally that I forgot the specifics, but I remember when she was reading it, I was like, oh, it like clicked. It was like, this totally makes sense, because Wim Hof's breathing technique it was something like about how taking these super deep breaths and then holding your breath and with no oxygen, you get these great benefits from holding your breath for a long time. But there's this negative downside to holding your breath so long. But the hyperoxygenating yourself through the super deep breaths, or like 30 plus of them in a row with these short out breaths, I think it like loads up the oxygen, and that counteracts the negative, the one downside of the holding the breath for the long time. So it made sense to me that, oh, this is like gives you the good thing of that and minimizes the negative effect of it. So that made sense to me. And I would, obviously I can't speak for Jack Kruse. And if one day, hopefully we'll interview him and we'd ask him about it. And I would love to hear him go deeper into it, because I've only heard him say basically what I said, which is he just quickly goes into the breathing technique doesn't really do much, but the cold is great for you. So that's great. And I'd imagine that he's basically trying to say that the breathing technique, according to his understanding of things, really doesn't do much. But that doesn't mean it doesn't. That just means according to his understanding.
Yeah, and he may be looking at it like, does it make the mitochondria stronger? Yeah, like, no, exactly. So it's fucking useless or some shit like that. You know what I mean? He may have a specific point of view.
That's what I'm guessing. is he's doing, like, and I'm not saying he doesn't have a point to make, but I'm just saying, and even if it's placebo effect, I feel the benefits from it. You
Well,
know,
placebo effect is
real.
about as close to a miracle as you can
right?
scientifically prove.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, just the placebo effect is like a total, like, what did you just hear what you said? You drank water and thought it was fucking morphine, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's some crazy shit right there.
Yeah.
Whatever that is some crazy shit.
Yeah.
And that, so yeah, that there is miraculous healing. There is like revolutionary, like all of a sudden you just go into reversion for different diseases and stuff like that. Yeah, we don't know what the fuck's going on. That's the epigenetic thing. That's that what turns on and off the genes is experience.
Yep.
We just don't know which experiences turn off and on the expression of the genes. If we ever figure that out, that's gonna be fucking crazy. It's like watch 5 foxes walking backwards and your psoriasis will go away because it'll switch off the goddamn gene. You're like, whoa, because we don't know what the fuck it is, but we know it's in the environment. The environment triggers the experience.
Exactly.
That's what I say as a therapist with emotions. We can't control emotions because the environment triggers it in us. We don't choose our emotions. I wish I fucking did.
Yeah,
fucking awesome. So the environment triggers it in us.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. That's why epigenetics is so important, you know? And most doctors don't know anything. They're still stuck in that genes are everything. It's all about genetics. And it's like, no, genetics play a role. I'm not saying they don't. They play a role, but they're an influence. They're not like a,
it's classic nature versus nurture. You're born with a certain nature, but then it has to be nurtured.
Yeah.
Or not.
Yeah.
Or ignored.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and the breathing stuff made me pull up on my therapy channel. I have a what I called 4 breathing methods to stop thinking. And so I present the kind of a it's similar. One of the methods is similar to the Wim Hof, you know, and of course I credit as many people as I can. I'm not like, oh, I invented this shit or something. It's like, no, here's like a vagal nerve one, here's like a counting one and stuff like that, you know, different ones. So it just made me pull it up because I'm liking putting shit in the background. Videos that go that aren't copyright, won't be copyright infringement. Although I looked up, I mean, basically you can show stuff as long as you talk over it some, you maybe stop some. You just can't just show an entire video and not say anything or make like comments on it. But there is a fair use, which is that you can show anybody else's video as long as you talk over it some. You might need to stop it some to like explain what you're thinking about. But as long as you're being critical of it, right, you're giving your thoughts, your ideas about a video or something that is copyrighted, you're allowed to do that. I just got worried because one of ours got flagged for copyright stuff because in the background I had played a video of like a ship traveling around the earth and I didn't stop it at any point. So I'm being a little bit more aware now of how to do that. But like with the videos I'm putting on the background now, they're either mine or, you know, directly belong to me.
Okay.
And there are some things that are non-copyright, which I'm going to do research on that as well too, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's a learning process, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For our fucking like 10 subscribers or something. You know?
That's great that we have 10 subscribers.
Oh, whatever it is. No, I'm just so happy
maybe 3.
to get any views is awesome.
Yeah. Huh?
Well, just that we're being consistent is the most difficult part.
Yeah. Yeah. Did I didn't look deeply into it, but I saw Jimmy Dore had this thing about the guy who killed the 2 National Guards, and basically how like it was like some CIA linked. There was like all this, you know, fuckery.
Right. No, it keeps being linked. These people keep being linked back to like BlackRock and shit like that, and all their names get like Googled like the 24 hours before they fucking do anything. And
right.
Just insanity.
The Google search spikes beforehand are so interesting.
Oh my goodness gracious. Right? And I mean, I'm like, is that a whoopsie, or is that the whole, like, we're going to kind of tell you what we're going to do before we do it
Well, okay.
thing, you know? Is that somebody who doesn't know how to use a VPN to like hide their, because they're just like a boomer Illuminati? Is this like boomer Illuminati behavior? You know? Or is this kind of like, we're gonna kind of let you know, we're gonna kind of show you that we know what's gonna happen. We're deciding what's gonna happen beforehand, as kind of, because they've done that in other ways before the internet and shit like that. You know, like those Illuminati card game and stuff like that.
Which is fascinating.
Oh yeah, so it's like kind of, or with doing it on certain dates, doing it on, you know, like kind of sending relatively clear signals that like this was designed, this was planned. There is an intelligence behind this. Or something,
it's not just random.
Right. I hope it's boomer Illuminati, because that's just hilarious. Like with the Epstein stuff, you know, it's like it's like the 9/11 thing. Like, they couldn't have done 9/11 now. There'd be too many videos. There'd be too many videos. There'd be too much information available to people. And so it's like the same thing now. It's like, you couldn't, like, let's say Donald Trump is like a 20-year-old now, and he's doing all his crazy shit. All of those videos and stuff would be on people's Facebooks and their iPhones and shit like that. It was like the last chance that you've got to, because like you saw with Diddy, like Diddy couldn't do the honeypot for very long. He did it for a while, but eventually it becomes too known. Eventually there's too many people posting shit on Facebook, getting recordings of him having sex with people. And, you know, there's too much. It becomes impossible to do that style of PsyOp. And so then you need to evolve the PsyOp, you know, forward.
Yeah,
and so like with the Epstein stuff, it's like now we're just like, regular people are just like hacking into his different email accounts. Like, no problem. Like, that's like not an issue. You know, that's pretty amazing, right? So it's kind of like, oh, like he couldn't continue. If he were still alive, maybe he is. If he was still alive and running the honeypot or something, he wouldn't be able to do it in the same way anymore. His email's getting hacked, bro. Like he would have to evolve it or change it or do it in a different way. And anybody that's worth their salt at this point is already doing that, is already evolving. You've got to evolve the honeypot 2.0, AI honeypot or something. You know, you're going to have to up your game here a little bit, because as the technology progresses, you've got to stay ahead of that. You got to stay ahead of it.
Exactly. Well, but I think that's, remember I was talking earlier on this conversation about like new technologies, new things evolve. So whatever the plan was, it's going to evolve over time, you know, and has to be flexible enough to adjust.
Yes, absolutely.
You know? So I do think that things like this, like there probably are some boomer elements of the Illuminati that are basically like, well, you know, this is fine. Don't worry. It's not a big deal. And then the younger people of it are like, no, this is a big deal.
Yeah, like, bro, you got to use a VPN. Like, shit, Grandpa. Like, you didn't, like, exactly. God damn it.
Exactly.
Shit.
So I think that if nothing else, this stuff is, you know, it's going to be used to tighten up the screws and tie up the loose ends, you know. So, and also, you know, they want total surveillance, you know, not just, you know, they want it so that there's a record for everything.
Well, I think they already have that. I think now what you do is you bring it into the public retail spectrum with all the doorbell cams and the flock cams that they're putting up in cities. Once you have it perfected behind the scenes, then you release it for public consution. Totally. One, to make even more money out of it, but also it kind of makes it okay. It kind of makes it okay. Like, now we're all just like paying to be like, I need my Ring doorbell cam. I need this. This is cool. So then when they reveal, or it is revealed or becomes revealed, or somebody on their deathbed is a whistleblower or some shit, actually, we've been surveilling you all. It's like, of course, like, yeah, duh. Like, I'm paying money for it. Of course, like, that's no big deal. Like, I've totally bought onto that there are sure, there's like, I'm being watched no matter what, but there's benefits. I get to see when my Amazon package is delivered. It's
Right.
fucking worth it, you know?
Right.
Like, it's here now. It's here now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if that package goes missing, now you know who took it. You know, it's like, yeah, no, but that's, again, goes back to what I was talking about with, like, if it's just one person or one family that dominates it all, then they'll overthrow them. So they want to get other people, like the Federal Reserve, they want to get other people's pot committed to it. You know, they want people in and invested and having, you know, a stake in it, so that they actually are rooting for, you know, on the same team as you, whether they know it or not. You know, they want people having a vested interest in this approach, you know, whether it's the total surveillance, the way we're talking about, or bring in the CBDCs, you know, so that all money and all transactions can be, you know, surveilled. And that's something that Jack Kruse talks about with, you know, Meyer Lansky and the Rothschilds. Like that, once Meyer Lansky realized that the Rothschilds were such an integral part of the Nazis bringing them to power in the Holocaust, that he was so disgusted with them that he was like, fuck you guys, and started figuring out the weaknesses of their monetary system, and started like learning how to track what they were doing, and basically says that Meyer Lansky was basically the one that kind of laid the groundwork for Bitcoin, you know, because he's a big time Bitcoin. He's like a Bitcoin maximalist. And he basically says that Bitcoin is this technology that basically someone like Meyer Lansky helped engineer, because it was this loophole to the monetary system that would give you a loyal title over your own money. That wouldn't just be a fiat.
Well, yeah, non-inflationary currency. I mean, it's a brilliant idea, but also really fucking scary. I mean, a lot of the, you know, if you ask, in my opinion, if you were to ask 10 people who are extraordinarily knowledgeable to take a guess of who or what organization is behind the creation of Bitcoin, I think at least 50% of the knowledgeable responders would say Israel. Right? Doesn't that sound?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I wouldn't.
I want to be like on top of the money game, and this whole inflationary currency thing, it's a ticking time bomb, you know? So let's get behind let's create a non-inflationary digital currency so that we can get on the money 2.0 train. Like, we want to get off the money 1.0 train and get on to the money 2.0 train. Just like the stock market thing I was talking about. The smart money is getting out of the stock market, right? When the Palantir guy and NVIDIA guy and stuff like that are selling their shares and shit like that, that should tell us, wait a minute. Or when Warren Buffett is holding on to $300 billion, not investing into fucking anything except for UNH, which honestly was a genius buy anyway, but who cares? It should tell us something. It should be like, huh?
Yeah.
Huh? The smartest, richest people are now standing on the sidelines with huge bags of money. That probably means some shit is going to go down.
yeah, exactly.
Like, huh?
But then think about this. I think it was like, what? It was like 6 or 7 years ago, give or take, when Jeff Bezos just like dumped a lot of his stock in Amazon. And I was like thinking that too. I was like, I guess Amazon has reached its peak, you know, but the stock price has probably doubled or tripled since then, or whatever. You know, it's tricky.
Well, and he's got to have stock options where he's going to continue to keep getting more into the future.
Of course.
You know, and so yeah, it's like, yeah, I look at Warren Buffett. I mean, honestly, Ryan Cohen with GameStop. The smartest people are like, hey, it's time for a correction. Whether it's in 9 days or 6 months, you don't know, because the stock market doesn't go down in a straight line. It's going to take some time, but it's time for it to happen. and that's normal and natural, by the way. That's not like some kind of apocalyptic thing or something. That's actually healthy growth.
Yeah.
Is you're building at the side of a mountain, so you have some valleys, you have some plateaus. You keep going up, but you need to have natural growth in there, you know. But retail, normal people don't. It's like, bro, I'm trying to get rich today, you know. I'm trying to pay my bills today. I can't just wait and be patient. You know, as Warren Buffett says, the stock market is a device for taking money from the impatient and giving it to the patient. And goddamn, the retail is not patient. You know, diamond handing things, it was kind of one part of the masterful strategy of the idea of GameStop, that what happens if retail traders don't sell, that usually you can bank on it. Like literally for 50 years, you could bank on the idea that retail was going to sell too early no matter what. Whether they're up or down in the stock, they're going to sell too early. That's like, well, you could just bank on that. You could just bank on that happening. So then what if you get a bunch of people to buy something and not sell? Like, wow, that's an interesting little cog to throw in there, you know? By the way, Michael Burry's back and talking about GameStop. He shut down his hedge fund, Scion Management, shut it down, then immediately started tweeting about GameStop is going to release later in December his own research into GameStop, and it seems really apparent because he was one of the first people to be in GameStop. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he was one of the first people sending letters to the board of GameStop telling them how they need to stop fucking themselves and what they should do to fix their fucking plan. But at that time, sorry if you've heard me talk about this before, at that time, there was a movement, which had been going on for a long time, where if you were a C-suite executive in some retail company that is going to start to go down, that you can tell you're not doing well, you can bring in groups like the Boston Consulting Group and stuff like that, who will tell you how you can profit off of your company going down. So like issue more shares of stock to your executives and then sell it right away. You know, that'd be one way. Dilute the shares, you know, act like everything's fine, but then sell your shit. Also, there's all sorts of methodology because that's what happened with Sears. That's what happened with Toys R Us. That's what happened with Blockbuster. That, you know, that you could see this happening over and over, a retail going down, and that people are able to profit off of this. And with hedge funds and market makers, the way they're going to profit off of that, one is the information, the inside information. Oh shit, your company actually isn't doing well. Let's now naked short sell as many shares of this company as possible. Because if I can sell you 1 million shares in Toys R Us and then it goes bankrupt tomorrow, like, wow. You know, like holy crap. Like I just did I sold things that didn't exist and made so much money, and now I'm completely legally like off the hooks now because the company's bankrupt. It was your fault as the seller, as the buyer, for buying 1 million shares of Toys R Us. You know, it's like not my fault. If you want to buy 1 million shares, cool. You know, that's fine with me. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
So anyway, it seems like there is an idea of, it's time for another correction, and then get ready for the most incredible stock market run of all time, basically. You know, that it will be time to, it'll be a new bull market unlike any we've seen since, I don't know, 2020 or something like that. I can't remember when the last one was, 2020 or 2021 or something. And of course, these aren't my theories. I'm riffing off of what all the people I watch talk about, you know.
Because I've heard the repo stuff is happening again, similar to before COVID.
Absolutely right. Lender of last resort. It's just ridiculous. And then the yen carry trade seems to be also extraordinarily important, that the yen interest rate is just way too high. And it used to be so low. So like people who are just doing arbitrage, where you borrow money from Japan for a really low rate and invest it somewhere else for a slightly higher rate, and you can just kind of rinse and repeat. And the yen value is at all-time lows right now. So they've got to do something about it. And so there's the thing called the yen carry trade, and that as people who have borrowed money from Japan to invest in other things at a really low interest rate, if that interest rate goes up, they're not going to be able to afford their position anymore. They're going to have to start closing some of their positions. So that's another thing that's been a lot of people are like watching right now, because there's an issue. There's a big issue there, and they're going to have to do something about it.
Yeah, I've seen some headlines saying things to that effect, but I don't really know much about it at all.
Yeah, it's just like there used to be a way to get really cheap money, and that's going away. And so that has a big impact. That's a big impact on global markets, because your rich uncle isn't giving you money anymore. You know, it's like, oh shit. Like usually when I need cash, I can go to my rich uncle, and suddenly he's like, nah, we're gonna have to chill for the next 6 months or something. It's like, oh, all right, shit. You know, now there's no more rich uncle, so I'm gonna have to close out some of my positions. I can't afford some of these positions now. I can't afford some of these losses, or to keep my swap position open, or stuff like that. I'm gonna have to close my positions. Or I'm going to get margin called, or if it's too extreme, then they're going to force me to, so maybe I can get out. Maybe I can get out before getting margin called.
And I would wonder if, all these strategies of like borrowing cheap money from one place and then putting it somewhere and getting a higher rate, and people, or like whatever. I remember for a while it was like shorting the VIX and shit like that. Was like, it was like a no-brainer, or like even GameStop, right? Shorting GameStop was a no-brainer until all of a sudden it wasn't anymore.
Right.
And there are people that were like, no, we're going to keep doing this. It's worked forever. All right, we've hit a minor bump in the road, but it'll come back, and it's like, well, I don't know if it's going to quite come back the way it once was, and like, I'm just saying, like, there's probably things that, because all of this is right. It's like, it's all based on the debt. Like, money is debt, right? And all these games are like, how do we make money off the debt? And that's basically like, right? There's probably, families and banking houses that have been doing things for a long fucking time, that got all the kings in debt to them and all the nations in debt to them. And it's like, they can't pay it back. Well, it's like, now we have to diversify our risk and find other ways to make money off of it. And then it'll grow and grow, and it ends up becoming some form of pyramid Ponzi scheme where you need to get as many people in, and having a stake in whatever it is that your gambit is. But what happens when that gambit runs dry? You want to have a zillion other gambits, and you have a zillion different ways to do it, because if you only had a few and then those all go belly up, then it's like, shit, then the music really screeches to a halt. And that's the thing. You want to be able to know and have options where to move your shit one place or another, so that, your competitors or it's like a hierarchical structure where there are people lower on the totem pole that are like, you know what, I'm going to try something else. And it's like, I told you not to try that right now. Maybe at some later point you can try that shit, but not now. And it's like, why? It works. It's making money. It's like, you don't understand. You don't know the bigger picture. The bigger picture, we need you to stop doing that right now.
Right, because my boss called me and told me to tell you to stop.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, but
that's why. Do you want to keep your job? I want to keep my job. Do you want to keep your job? We're making millions of dollars.
Exactly.
Like, okay, no problem. Just let me know when I can start this back up. Like, okay, cool. Thanks for this discussion.
Right. And it's all these people who are lower on the totem pole who are like, but I'm making so much money doing this, I don't want to stop. And then it's like, who are the assholes that keep on fucking this up for all of us? We need to find out who they are, get rid of them, make an example of them, because we need, loyalty. We need people who are, when we call them up and tell them to stop, they stop. Even when they're making lots of money doing that thing, we need them to stop. And when we tell them to stop, they better stop. And that's why it's like, it really is like poker, because you don't want to just like shoot people up everywhere and kill them and have dead people everywhere. You'd rather just be able to tell them, or like a bluff, hey, fold this hand. And then they fold the hand. They don't need, you don't have to, you don't waste your time, spend your time like explaining to them why they need to fold. You just need to have that ability and that credibility, or the implied threat that if they don't listen to you, they're gonna be fucked. So that when you tell them to stop doing what they're doing, they just stop it. And they don't go, okay, I'll stop, and then I'll quietly set it up on the side somewhere subtle, and I'll do it there, and they won't find out. Because that's how I think that's basically, at least to some degree, some of how it works. Where there are people that start making money and doing things that end up going against the king or the leader.
That's a little bit. I pulled it up. You would love this guy, Gary's Economics. He's a British guy who worked in this realm, but he came from like a poor background. So that a lot of the financial arbitrage, the currency arbitrage, I learned by watching him, and that's kind of like he talks about how the culture and the system, and one of the reasons he wasn't able to be controlled is because he didn't do all of the drugs and partying. That was kind of part of the
blackmail.
Yeah, part of the thing. Anyway, I highly recommend this guy, the Gary's Economics.
Gary's Economics.
He's excellent. He's excellent. And then I think I mentioned this guy before, but this guy was just talking about the prediction market, poly market, and stuff like that as being like
there were certain things that predicted.
It's just one of the best ways to get insider information currently for stock trading. Not and look, I would say, bro, I mean, I don't know if you still do like fantasy football and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's like,
I do.
Yeah, I mean, I would start looking at the poly market for that stuff. Like which things, which players, which games, which whatever, who's going to win this? Is this person going to play in this game? Blah, 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 blah. Look at that stuff because it's totally unregulated still. So people with inside information can use it to make money and not get in trouble. So do you think people do that? Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, of course.
So it's like highly functional. And that was kind of his main point in this video, is that everyone is insider trading, and one of the main tools they're using is poly market, is the prediction market. And that until it is regulated, it shall continue to be one of the best indicators for insider information that a regular person that you and I can look up poly market right now and look and see what's going on.
That's interesting. I happened to randomly have those thoughts earlier today, being like, I wonder, because I think it's becoming more and more apparent that like Vegas and things like that are playing a role in sports.
Oh my God, yes.
And affecting the outcomes of games. Yep. There was like a game on Thanksgiving, just last week, where it was called like a phantom pass interference, like where basically there was this big play that happened and it got called back, and then they looked at it and they called it offensive pass interference, and there was none, but it's just a phantom pass. The ref just calls it. It nullifies the play, and that totally swings the outcome of the game, And I'd wonder if you had looked into things like like you're saying, like poly market, you could have found like, whoa, there was big money going this way, and so they got some ref, some official to basically make some call. The official knows, like, at some point I'm gonna have to make a call to help this because there's this heavy bets on this way, and they they get I'm sure they get a cut or an incentive, or they're blackmailed or something. They're like, we'll fucking ruin your life or the life of your children or the people you love and care about, and so the person is like there to do that, to serve. Again, it's just hierarchical structure, and serve, knowing who the master is to serve, as opposed to, betting on the wrong horse of a master to serve. and then you go down with that ship. You know, you got to just like flee that sinking ship and join another that is the ascending ship.
I have to go,
Okay.
but I wanted to mention the Talmud thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I put it on the screen,
Okay, let me
and
see.
it just shocked me because I had no idea that there was so much like crazy, like violent shit in the Talmud. Like I always thought it was like the Quran and stuff like, you know what I mean? Like which has that shit too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, it's like murdering goyim is like killing a wild animal. Even the best of the Gentiles should be killed.
Yeah, that's wild.
Sexual intercourse with a little girl is permitted if she is 3 years of age. Do not save goyim in danger of death. So show no mercy to goyim. The Jews are human beings, but the nations of the world are not human beings, but beasts.
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
It's just whoa. It is permitted to kill a Jewish denunciator everywhere. It is permitted to kill him even before he denounces. All property of other nations belongs to the Jewish nation, which consequently is entitled to seize upon it without any scruples. Oh my God, baby kittens. Oh, baby.
Yes, dude, send me that. I see it on the screen, but it's like, send me that. Because someone like my dad, he'll be like, there are these passages in the Quran that say...
I know, exactly.
You know,
I was the same way. I was the same way.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, you look at the Christian Bible, it's like, oh yeah, you can like rape people and have slaves and shit like that. You look at the Quran, it's like, kill all the unbelievers.
Totally.
You look at the Jewish thing, like, yeah, you can kill everyone, fuck you. You know, it's like, oh damn, like, oh shit. Like, oh fuck.
I know. Like a month ago or something, I got into like a heated debate with him, and he started bringing up, the Quran says this and that about Jews and non-believers. And I'm like, Dad, you can selectively take things from all holy books.
I know. I bet he was like, no, that's not true.
I know.
Jews are peaceful. Yeah, we're the only peaceful people in the world.
Yeah, we're the best. We're the greatest.
Of course.
All this shit. And I'm like, oh, God, I can't believe you still fall for this nonsense.
But yeah, but I didn't know it was that. And there's some stuff about like, Jesus is actually in hell being tortured by like boiling excrement and stuff. Like it's some intense shit, bro. Wow. Anyway, I gotta go. I don't know how the time fucking flies sometimes like this. It's just unbelievable shit. I'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, look forward to it, man.
Yeah. All right. Talk to you later. Have a great rest of your day and everything.
Hey, you too, man.
Okay. Bye.
Later, buddy.